This is Steve Colano, and this is Confidential Remarks. Today's buyers and sellers are highly informed. They track market data on their phones, they compare services online, and they expect clear, logical answers. Yet when they ask a real estate professional to justify their fee, they are always handed a tired phrase, "You get what you pay for." For years, consumers have been told that a higher commission percentage guarantees better marketing, stronger negotiations, and a smoother transaction. The industry repeats this message so often that many people accept it as a law of physics. But when you actually break down the mechanics of a real estate transaction, that equivalence falls apart. Price is simply a number on an invoice. It tells us what an agent wants to earn. It does absolutely nothing to guarantee what they can actually deliver. True execution comes from preparation, accountability, and experience. Professionals who rely on tradition to protect their fees are walking into a trap. Without verifiable evidence to back up their pricing, they will consistently lose clients to competitors who use operational efficiency to drive better outcomes. You can see exactly how this trap springs during a standard listing presentation. The moment an agent states their price, the client's internal skepticism kicks in, and the conversation splits down one of two highly predictable paths. This flowchart maps the modern pitch, branching into two paths. Pitch a premium fee, and clients demand justification for that high number. Pitch a lower fee, and clients ask what's being cut. If the agent answers, "You get what you pay for," trust is broken. Defending your income with a slogan is a failing strategy. To remove this friction, the professional must abandon the promise-based pitch entirely and move to an evidence-based pitch. An evidence-based pitch replaces vague marketing claims with 4 distinct pillars of proof. The first of these is repeatable processes. This matrix outlines the anatomy of that pitch. Look at the first row, processes. The input requires a rigorous step-by-step roadmap for handling a transaction. The outcome is client confidence. It proves pricing is attached to an operation that systematically reduces errors. The trade-off is a heavy upfront time investment, removing the ability to just wing it. By systematizing operations, the agent takes a vague promise like, "I care about my clients," and turns it into a tangible asset the client can actually review. The second pillar requires removing the mystery from the commission check entirely. Complete transparency. Moving to the second row, transparency requires stating provided services and excluded expenses. This instantly earns credibility, showing the client the agent isn't hiding a massive profit margin. The trade-off is intense scrutiny, requiring strict accountability and leaving zero margin for hidden errors. When you operate transparently, the client has a guarantee that their money is funding verified, essential work, instead of inflating an outdated commission structure. The third pillar bridges the gap between what an agent says they can do and what they've actually done. This is measurable results. On the third row, the input requires compiling actual satisfaction scores and historical ratios. By putting data on the table, subjective claims are replaced by indisputable indicators of competence. The trade-off is raw reality. Relying on data forces the agent to confront their actual track record. Data creates an objective baseline. When a client can verify a strong history of successful outcomes, that historical performance easily outweighs the loudest sales pitch in the market. The final pillar proves that value isn't a static feature you buy. It's an ongoing practice. This is competence through action. Looking at the final row, the input is real-time execution, communicating proactively. This active execution proves baseline competence far more effectively than pointing to a high commission. The trade-off is exhausting. It requires a high continuous cognitive load and intense preparation for every interaction. With the evidence-based matrix complete, we have a functional blueprint. It shows exactly how competence is demonstrated through daily action, not stated on an invoice. This brings us to a specific dilemma in the industry. If competence is driven by systems, transparency, and execution, What happens when an agent becomes highly efficient and decides to charge less? Modern efficiency strips away unnecessary overhead. It allows a business to deliver a precise, frictionless outcome without the bloated operating costs of the past. Many outstanding professionals charge less simply because they've invested in these streamlined systems. They aren't cutting essential services. They're spending more time actively serving clients and zero time maintaining outdated, expensive business models. Leveraging efficiency to reduce costs for the consumer is a massive competitive advantage. It is a sign of a highly optimized business, not a red flag for poor quality. To survive in a market of highly informed consumers, professionals need to know exactly where their business currently stands and where it needs to go. This quadrant chart maps out the landscape. The horizontal axis measures how an agent pitches, from tradition to evidence. The vertical axis measures operations, from low to high efficiency. The bottom left is the danger zone, the status quo, relying on charisma over checklists to justify high fees. The top right is the target state, the value executor, running highly efficient operations pitched entirely on transparent, verifiable evidence. This top right path is built for forward-thinking professionals. Regardless of whether they charge a premium or a flat fee, they use a bulletproof, logical framework to win over skeptical clients. The ultimate realization is simple. You cannot purchase a good outcome just by paying a higher fee. Value is not purchased. Value is delivered. Once an agent successfully shifts the focus from the size of their invoice to the quality of their verifiable execution, the price objection disappears entirely. This has been Confidential Remarks.